So I have identity theft and technology. My name is Jennifer Noakes. I really appreciated the opportunity I had to learn about this subject. It's kind of mind-boggling of all the craziness that's out there, but it was really good information. So let's first start off with it. What is identity theft? Essentially, it occurs when someone uses bits and pieces of information about an individual, usually the social security number, to represent him or herself as that person for fraudulent purposes. Examples are obtaining credit cards and loans in someone else's name and then not paying the bills, opening utility accounts, renting an apartment, getting a cellular phone, purchasing a car or a home, and so on. One of the greatest statistics that I learned from this is that every 2 seconds, someone's identity is stolen in some sort of way. So that can be maybe stealing their checkbook, their social, their ID, their credit card. In some sort of way, somebody is stealing it every 2 seconds. So let's count. 1, 2. There we go. Somebody's identity has been stolen already. It's kind of a mind-boggling thought. So I want to talk about some different impacts that identity theft has on society. So the first impact is financially. Financially is probably one of the greatest things that somebody steals your social are going to affect. So they're going to affect your credit. They're going to affect you getting a car loan because you have to have good credit to get a car loan. They're going to affect maybe you losing your money in your account. They're going to affect companies when they're breached. These are all great things that are affected from somebody stealing your information. First effect, like I said, it's going to affect your credit. So hopefully everybody kind of understands credit. When you have good credit, you can get a car loan. When you have bad credit, you can't get a car loan, and you can't get approved for everything, for other things out there. So when someone steals your identity, they can take your credit. So they'll get free cars, free credit cards, money, so free money and free cars and free loans of any sort. Because they're using your credit, and they're going to ruin your credit and not theirs. Most likely, they probably couldn't get a car loan of some sort. And this is all when they just need your social to do many of these things. And it stinks, but it happens. So like I said, when you get a car loan, credit card, insurance, an apartment, or many other options, you can't move forward due to identity theft because somebody has stolen your information. That information that you keep close so that you can use it when you need to. So if you need a car, you have the ability to get a car. There are things out there that can help you out if your identity is stolen. Say your company lost your social. Somehow the breach happened. You can put a freeze. You should say put, not a but. Freeze on your credit card, your credit through the 3 credit bureaus, which are TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. And at that point of time, you have to inform them when you want a loan of some sort, and they'll let that go through. But if not, there's nothing that they can do on your credit. No one can do anything. It's a great thing to have, a good idea to use if that happens to you. So, money. We all love our money in some sort of way. We all bank online, a lot of us, right? So when someone steals your information, they can so if they steal your checkbook, they can start writing checks or cash fraudulent checks in your name. And then you're responsible for that money that bounces back. Depending on the information they steal, they can steal all the money in your bank account. They can open new bank accounts in your name, taking them into the negative, and then in the end, charging you off, stating that you're a suspicious person and fraudulent, and no one else is going to want to open an account for you, which can cause problems. Say you want to get a mortgage or something through Mountain America, but you don't have an account with them, you go in and they're not going to let you get an account / that mortgage because your identity has been stolen. It says that you're not a good member and not somebody they want to work with. So the company that was breached will have to pay back the victim in some sort of way. And this one was probably the most surprising to me. I thought it was going to be a lot of money that they have to deal with to get that money back, but it's not. So it's actually cheaper for companies like Walmart, Target, and Home Depot, etc., to pay out victims than it is to fix their security issues. So I found an article on CBS News that talks about this. It's a great article if you ever want to read it. It says, remember Target's loss of 40 million of debit cards, credit cards, and 70 million other records, which included addresses and phone numbers, also included bank account numbers. The company recently said the total bill was $252 million between 2013 and 2014. After 90 million insurance coverage, 162 million was left. Tax deductions brought that amount to $105 million. The sum was about 1% of Target's 2014 revenue. So it really doesn't even affect them. So they don't want to fix it. So the new chip readers that are making them spend more money, they don't want to do it because it's easier for them just to pay out the victims in some sort of way. It's cheaper that way. So these are my sources for this impact. I have Equifax, some of the other ones. I will be using Equifax a lot in the next impact I have, which is psychologically. So I never really thought of how much identity theft can affect somebody psychologically. It really does. If it makes you fear, it makes you feel violated, you lose trust of people. I call them doomsday preppers, where they just think the end of the world is going to come and they can't trust anybody with any of their information. But let's go on and talk about these things. So, once you have been affected by identity theft, you are constantly on the watch, always worrying that somebody is still going to steal your information. So you become paranoid. According to Diane Turner, a licensed clinical social worker and certified life coach based in Chicago, Illinois, and Tucson, Arizona, it's kind of a mouthful, but Turner says victims often experience emotional affect and exhibit signs of grief similar to depression and heightened anxiety, such as a loss of confidence in areas where they typically had confidence, sleeplessness, emotionally validity, difficult eating, and self-medicating with alcohol, food, or the loss of motivation. So they even talked about how you can have the same effects as a trauma, somebody that's been through trauma has had, as getting your identity stolen. And I think maybe if it's huge and somebody tanks your credit and everything, they might have that feeling, but it's crazy to think about that way. I think you feel violated, right? So you think, how could this happen to me? It's invasive. Somebody's stealing your information. You always want to figure out who stole that information. I had my purse stolen out of my car one time. I totally forgot it was there. Completely forgot. I moved the cart and just forgot it was there. So I went into the store. Somebody smashed my window open and stole my purse. I felt violated. I felt, how could this happen to me? I felt I had 401k information in my purse. I had some money, but not a whole lot. And my debit card and ID were thankfully with me, so I didn't get that information. But all the other things, I felt violated. I couldn't trust anyone, and always wondering who it was. And this is how identity theft works too. It's in the same way. If you have anything stolen from you, this is how the victims feel. There's a quote that says, "If victims stay in vulnerable state, it can lead to prolonged periods of helplessness and hopelessness." So it can put you in depression. As crazy as that is, it has that effect. Trust. I think this is one of the greatest ones. This is kind of a cute quote here, but it says it takes years to build trust and a few seconds to destroy it. I think that's very true. We trust everybody without tons of information. Social media, I don't know how many of you actually put your birth date, your correct birth date, or your name. Some people might put their address, where they live, all on social media, and people can get that information easy. So when somebody steals that information, you're never going to trust anybody. So this is where my doomsday prepper comes into effect. People take money out of the bank and store it in their mattress. So why would you trust the bank if all your information has been stolen at this point of time? You want to keep it kind of secluded in your little turtle shell, as I had on the other side, and you don't want it for other people. An identity theft victim said she doesn't trust others as much as anymore, explaining how she even second-guessed the clerk at the grocery store who swipes her card twice. Something simple as somebody swiping their card twice can put you off of, oh, is he stealing my information? How it's kind of weird to think about it that way, but you lose complete trust of everyone around you. Maybe even family members. You don't want things laying out for whatever it may be. So these are my sources here. I used Equifax and another one for that impact again. So in conclusion, whatever technology we come up with in some way to help, it also can be used to hinder in that way. It's the unthought consequences that might happen. So you have good technology that can be used for bad things. It happens. It's growing more and more. So with each post we make, we need to make sure we are knowledgeable of that. There are so many people that, like I said, will steal your information. But there are many things that we can do to prevent it. I have LifeLock on myself. It was given to me at a cheaper rate. But for that information, I feel a little bit safer. You can check your credit up to 3 times a year, once on each of those credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and then TransUnion. I would recommend doing that to make sure it's all correct and it's all safe. So the last one, we have our quiz questions here. So how often is someone's identity stolen? It's stolen every 2 seconds. I said that in the beginning. And then, what are the emotional effects and signs of grief for identity theft victims similar to? And that's depression and heightened anxiety. I appreciate the opportunity to learn about this. It was really interesting. And just always remember, whatever you post online can be used in some sort of way.